One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach. This is the big three. Out of these, Bleach was a series that I've always loved. It was one of the first anime I had watched after Naruto and My Hero Academia. It instantly captured my interest, and without it, I wouldn't be consuming anime and manga like I am today. Having watched the anime a long time ago, I decided that it had become time to start the manga. So I am happy to say that I have actually started the manga recently and will be reviewing each arc. So with that said, let's get on to the video. Talking about the first arc of this series, I think the best way to start my review is in the actual beginning of Bleach, the first chapter. The first chapter, titled Death and Strawberry, is one of the only debuting chapters to be very well done. Why I say this is because it explains the setting and introduces the characters in a way that feels very natural. The main character is not overpowered, he is not a nerd, and most definitely he is not a scaredy cat. Ichigo Kurosaki, who is 15 years old pre-time skip, is just a normal high school student who has no idea the things life is about to bring upon him. From the first few panels itself, we learn a bit extra information that Ichigo is a short-tempered dude who can see ghosts. But the thing that makes the first few panels more special is the fact that Ichigo doesn't really know much about why and how he sees ghosts. All he thinks is that these ghosts are just roaming around trying to find their way to heaven. So, seeing this man gain his Shinigami powers from Rukia, wielding a big sword called a Zanpakuto that he can't control much, and go from knowledgeless to knowledgeable about these ghosts or spirits is a nice thing to see. Elaborating more on the first chapter, it gets straight to the point but also gives a little time to the readers. To put into perspective, Tite Kubo, the creator of Bleach, could have started off the manga in which Rukia encounters Ichigo right away, but instead of doing that, he smartly places Rukia in the first panel, which is a great chess move for the first chapter, as that causes the reader to wonder what Rukia has anything to do with the story, and therefore the reader has to keep on reading to find out. And going back to what I was saying, we get to see a brief but sufficient introduction to Ichigo's family and his relationship with them. It not only introduces the characters, but also shows us the personality of them. We have action, blood. It basically really does a good job in making you want to read more. When it comes to introducing Ichigo's family in Bleach, the Substitute arc sets the tone very realistically. We can see an example of this in chapter 18 when Ichigo visits his mom's grave with his family. You can feel the emotions flowing through Ichigo when he is there. He was a person who loved his mother to death, and due to his mother's murder, Ichigo lost all that happiness and had an empty void, or in other words called grief. Losing a loved one is one of the most saddening and unfortunately common experiences people face. Most people experiencing normal grief and bereavement have a period of sorrow, numbness, and even guilt and anger. In Ichigo's case, he believed that he killed his mother. Ichigo saw a ghost trying to perform the act of suicide near a lake, and as a little kid back then, he didn't know what to do. His ghost vision was not that strong at that time, so he couldn't tell whether the ghost was actually a ghost or a human. The only action he could think of doing at that time was save that ghost. But little did he know the ghost would disappear and his mom would come rushing to save Ichigo instead. And when he woke up, his mother was soundless, laying dead in its arms. So as you can see, a very emotional, heartbreaking incident indeed. Gradually, these grieving and sad feelings disappear, and it's possible to accept loss and move forward. But Ichigo had a personality change. He became much less happy and stopped smiling a lot. He became more like a tough dude, and therefore is the reason for Ichigo turning into a type of tsundere, if you want to call it that. Compared to other character deaths in other manga, it's safe to say Bleach has one of the best portrayals in which you can relate and actually feel emotional while reading or watching it. Enough of Ichigo though. What about the other characters? Well, I'll go in order. First up, let's talk about Chad. Yasutara Sado, commonly known as Chad, is a buff Mexican dude. If you didn't know anything about him at all, you would probably think he's a bully who can beat the bonkers out of you. And actually, taking away the bully part, my boy can probably beat you up. But in this arc in which he is introduced, we get to know that Chad is a pretty quiet man and he's super strong. The manga explains in a flashback that Chad actually did used to be a guy who beat up a lot of people, but his grandfather, who he deeply cared about, told him that he should only use his fists to save people instead of hurting them. And this man, due to his immense discipline he had to his grandfather, actually stopped fighting. And instead, we saw that he saved Ichigo's sister, Karen. So, good job for listening to your grandfather, Chad. Also, one little extra thing I wanted to say about him is that Chad can actually see these hollows perfectly. He can sense them, make out where they are, and see the outline or shape of them, but can't see them vividly. I think this is very interesting because if everyone could see these spirits and hollows, there would be no point in the story. And knowing that Chad has the ability to kind of see them just makes it, like I said before, makes me want to read more to see his character development also. Talking about seeing hollows but not knowing what exactly they are, in the same type of situation next up, we have the main female character next to Rukia, who is Orihime. It kind of surprised me how Orihime's character was introduced and turned out, because to a normal person, Orihime might just seem like a cheerful woman, but when this arc of the manga took us on a flashback in which we see that Orihime has a really sad past, specifically describing she lost her parents and her brother was the only one who took care of her, and after a few years, she also lost her brother, so she literally has no family whatsoever. She was also bullied a lot at school and didn't have many friends. When I looked back and saw the stuff that Orihime has gone through, it's honestly astonishing that a person like that could be this cheerful. I don't have much to say about Orihime, but one thing is, don't think of her as a normal female character. If you actually dig deep into her character development, it's just crazy. If you thought Shinigamis were the only type of people who erase hollows, you are wrong. Uryu Ishida is first introduced as a superior rival to Ichigo. Uryu is a Quincy and Ichigo is a Shinigami. The difference to both is that Shinigami cleanse hollow souls and send them to the Sosa Society or sometimes hell based on their deeds, whereas Quincy just try to wipe hollows clean from existence. This obviously leads back to some historical Bleach facts, in which we get to know the reason as to why the Quincy hate the Shinigami. And the reason being because the Shinigami wiped the Quincy clean out of existence. But somehow, Uryu is the only Quincy remaining alive, and he wishes to have a battle with Substitute Shinigami Ichigo. Uryu opens a hole in the sky, in which hollows start pouring out, and tells Ichigo that whoever kills the most hollows is stronger. Keep in mind though, Uryu is a professional. Quincy's use bow and arrows, and this meant Uryu is super fast with them too. But Ichigo on the other hand, is just not learning and following the footsteps with Rukia to become a full-fledged Shinigami. So Uryu obviously has the upper hand. But what is Uryu fighting for? He mentioned that he doesn't care about the Quincy history. Well, again, Bleach takes us on a flashback in which we see that Uryu's sensei strived and wanted to work together with the Shinigami so both clans can coexist together. But sensei was killed by the Shinigami. And Uryu saw this in front of his eyes as a little kid. Kinda like Ichigo, Uryu went through the grieving stages, and his sensei's death put a personal grudge for him against the Shinigami. That's the reason as to why Uryu is fighting. Going back to Uryu and Ichigo's fight though, Ichigo tells Uryu that there are too many hollows to fight as one person and that the history doesn't matter. But the sentence that convinced Uryu to join forces with Ichigo was when Ichigo told him that his mother was killed by a hollow. This made Uryu realize that he and Ichigo have gone through the same stages of losing someone. And realizing this, Uryu switched to Ichigo's side, and they both worked together to kill all the remaining hollows. Tite Kubo really went as far into the details as possible. He added details or information on the differences between Shinigami and Quincy's, not just in historical facts, but also the differences in their powers. One extra thing that I felt was super cool of Ichigo to say during the Uryu situation was when he said, "I'm not Superman, so I can't say anything big, like I'll protect everyone on Earth. I'm not a modest guy who will say it's enough if I can protect as many people as my two hands can handle either. I want to protect a mountain load of people." My man Ichigo, bro, he's a mature dude. I respect him a lot as a character, and when I saw this, you can call it quote for the first time, it really inspired me on a lot of levels. If you have noticed something common in Bleach, it's the flashbacks and character deaths. Each person has their own reason to fight, and the way it's shown in Bleach is extraordinary. Now, since Rukia disobeyed her soul society laws and got too attached to the human world, and obviously gave her Shinigami powers to a random human, the Soul Society sent two people, one dude named Abarai Renji, and the other dude who is in fact Rukia's older brother, Byakuya Kuchiki. These two men's goals are to kill Rukia and Ichigo, and Uryu interferes to try to save Rukia, but he's no match for Renji. Instead, Renji hurts him very badly. Then the tables turn. Ichigo learns of what is happening from Khan and rushes in to fight and save his friends. Renji asks Ichigo what his Zanpakuto's name is, but Ichigo doesn't really know much about this Shinigami and Zanpakuto stuff. So he's like, what? Zanpakutos have names? After that, Renji and Ichigo start Zanpakuto fighting, but Ichigo is still weak at this time of the story, so Renji slices him mercilessly. And hey, what would you know, Rukia jumps on Renji to distract him, so that Ichigo can either run away or get an opening at beating Renji. Ichigo slices Renji, but wait, remember, Byakuya is still there. This is the moment Byakuya almost kills Ichigo, takes Rukia back to the Soul Society, and puts her in jail where she awaits her death penalty. It's a very big turning point in the series because this incident with Renji and Byakuya is what continues the story and will explore deeper into the Soul Society. It will bring forth what Ichigo and the others will do to save Rukia. Speaking about exploring deep into the story, Ichigo wakes up at Urahara's place, and by this time, Ichigo is in a worry because he really needs to go save Rukia, but before he does, he needs to become stronger. So your boy Urahara decides to train Ichigo and get him ready for the Soul Society, basically training him so that he can defeat the people that will try to stop him on his way to save Rukia. And interestingly, Uryu, Orihime, and Chad decided to train together, obviously in a different place. So all of them are doing their thing, getting ready, getting stronger, you feel me? Ichigo finally found his Zanpakuto's name, or in fact earned his Zanpakuto name, which is famously known as Zangetsu. The fact that you can communicate and have an inner and outer connection to your sword just is very interesting and shows how much thinking went into the creation of this manga by Tite Kubo. Anyways, now that Ichigo and his friends are now headed to save Ruki and the Soul Society, I am excited to see what's going to happen next. Reading this manga really brings back nostalgia of when I watched the anime. It's like one of the only works to actually personally capture my heart. So experiencing it again, this time in manga format, is just awesome. And it's 700 plus chapters long, so it's going to be a nice long journey throughout. With that said, see you in the next part of my Bleach review, which will be the Soul Society arc. Peace.